Hi everyone, this is Duncan from the podcast Under the Stairs. This particular video you're checking out just now has the archival recording attached to it. The archival recording is from our podography, I think that's the term that we use, and it will feature reviews of movies that fall under the 88 Films Italian Collection series. Now, the vast majority of reviews we've done over the last 5 years have been in audio format and published on our RSS feed for the podcast. We are transitioning over to give you access to all those reviews right here on YouTube under a playlist. Now, we're doing that because we're about to do our first video recording of 88 Films Italian Collection release, that being Tentacles. So there's plenty of opportunity to delve into the back catalogue of the reviews here. And if you like what you hear, then please hit subscribe on the channel, leave your comments below, and check out the rich catalogue of over 1,200 episodes we have on podcasts Under the Stairs on any podcatching device or Spotify that you use. So stick around, enjoy the episode, and I'll speak to you very soon.
You could get away with it this time too, but you didn't think around me, little Lucy, did you, Mommy dearest? You know I love you, Mommy. Everyone loves you because you're so pretty. You always were the prettiest. You're just trying to poison his mind against her. You're jealous. You want her all for yourself.
Look, young man, she's no longer my wife, and I'm not interested. As far as I'm concerned, she doesn't exist. She's dead.
Oh, darling. Oh, Hereford. Oh, take me now.
Lucy, don't go in the kitchen, please.
Lucy's been here, hasn't she?
She
Why did you let her go upstairs?
had a present for you.
And welcome back. So you just heard the trailer for Macabre. This is disc number 58 in the collection from 88 Films. And let's jump to the website, which says, don't open the fridge. Lamberto Bava was taught his trade by his father, horror legend Mario Bava. Macabre was his first film as a director, showing how well he'd learned his lessons. Still recovering from a pair of traumatic bereavements, Jane Barker, played by Beatrice Steggers of Extra and Sky Pilots, moves into a new apartment in New Orleans. The owner's son, Robert, is blind, but that doesn't stop him hearing what Jane gets up to, and it sounds like she's resumed her passionate affair with her lover, Fred, except that Fred died years ago. Not quite a giallo, not quite a ghost story, and with a final twist that will make you rethink everything you've already seen, Macabre shows that Bava Jr., who'd gone to make the horror classic Demons, was a chip off the old block. The special features on the version I have is the limited edition soft touch slipcase, a limited edition booklet essay by Rachel Nisbet, a brand new 2K restoration from the original camera negative, DTS HDMA dual mono English audio, and a DTS HDMA dual mono Italian audio with newly translated English subtitles. Don't lose your head, a new interview with director Lamberto Bava, audio commentary by giallo experts Troy Howarth and Nathaniel Thompson, alternate Italian opening and ending credits, original trailer, and reversible sleeve showing original poster and VHS artwork. Special features, it's region unlocked, so it's regions A, B and C. Audio is DTS, HD, MA, dual mono. Pictures HD, 1080p, 185.1. The runtime is about an hour and a half. Languages are both English and Italian with English subtitles. So truth be told, I thought this was a first time watch for me, but actually it turns out that I had seen it before. Weirdly enough, this is, and this is us putting the way back machine on here, this is actually the first Arrow title that I ever owned. Way back in the day, Arrow put this out on DVD, and I had purchased it way back then, I watched it way back then, and legitimately had forgotten all about Lamberto Bava's involvement, all about pretty much the movie until about 5 minutes into watching this one, and it all came crashing back. Like, obviously I don't want to go into spoiler details on this one, because this one does have a really, I was going to say interesting, bonkers ending is probably the best way to describe it. That does, I mean, it recontextualises a lot of what has happened kind of prior in the movie. Essentially, this is Lamberto Bava's take on whatever happened to Baby Jane, and you get that kind of pretty much not that far into it. You get that feeling. It's clear that from Bava's standpoint, he's not quite his dad, if we're being honest, and that's fine. And he'd obviously been doing a ton of stuff with Argento, and he's not quite Argento either, and he kind of lies somewhere between, and I've heard him at times be referred to as quite a schlocky director, and I don't necessarily think that's wrong, but I think that sometimes undermines how vicious he can actually be. Like, Bava Jr., unlike his dad, really goes for the jugular in a lot of his movies, or you'll have to watch something like A Blade in the Dark to see that. When we reviewed that as part of that Italian collection, I was surprised at how fucking sinister that movie was, and how in certain parts for a giallo, it was actually doing more than slashers were doing in terms of just visceral, like, horrible, nasty little content. So it's kind of interesting to see him here. This is, like it said in the 88 Films description, it's not quite a giallo, it has that kind of mystery aspect, and it's also not quite a ghost story, because it has that is it, isn't it sort of ghost kind of haunting aspect about it as well. Things that I liked, because like I say, I don't really want to get into the plot in this one at all, because I really actually do think you should check this one out, because truth be told, kind of dug it quite a bit. Bernice Steggers is actually pretty great in this one. She overacts quite a bit in this movie, but you kind of have to. Has to be on some level a bit melodramatic, if that makes sense. But she's kind of awesome in this one. She, you know, has this kind of horrible car crash with her lover, who he's decapitated. And then, you know, we kind of fast forward, because Bava's like, let's not spend any time doing all the, I'm in mourning and all the rest. Let's just jump forward a year. And she kind of went crazy. She has just been released from an insane asylum, and she's now in a guest house owned by this old woman who kind of had passed away, and she's now giving it to her blind son, played by Robert Duvall. And you know, it's like it said in the description there, you have these ideas about her kind of, the noise through the walls very much sounds like her and Fred are up to the, shagging is the word I'm looking for, shagging. They're up to all their dirty naughtiness. And what's really strange is there happens to be a lock in the freezer. I wonder if you can guess what's in the freezer. Yeah, I mean, it's bonkers. It's shot really, really well. I think Lamberto Bava at times, he's never going to have the creative juices and style of his dad, but he shoots surprisingly well, and that shouldn't surprise anyone, because like we've said, he learned at the foot of two incredible directors who took him under his wings, and a lot of that kind of style transfers over. I actually find the music in this one a bit overpowering. The score itself can be a bit nauseating at times in terms of just how like ridiculously over the top it can be. Interesting little fact on this one, Pupi Avati, who would go on and do The House with Laughing Windows, has co-writing credits on this with Antonio Avati, who I think is his brother. So they kind of took first pass at this one. And then obviously passed over Lamberto Bava. And it just goes to show how fucking mind-blowingly small the Italian filmmaking community is, that all these guys are doing everything. The movie itself is, I mean, it's a bit paint by numbers except for the ending. It is a movie that demands that you see the ending and you will either go with it and you will love it, or you will fucking hate it. A lot of people did hate it. A lot of critics at the time didn't like it. A lot of audiences, when they saw it, reportedly laughed when they saw it. But I think it's like so over the top that it kind of works for it. And it's, I mean, it also kind of is a product of its environment. Like, New Orleans is maybe one of the more kind of traditionally gothic feeling areas of America. When I say gothic feeling, I mean as in it's steeped and surrounded by an air of darkness, which gothic cinema seems to have. Americans don't really have a gothic cinema because that country was founded much later than the time periods that we would class as kind of gothic times. The country's far too young for all that foofara. But, you know, New Orleans has that kind of feel a bit. I don't know if it's because it's ultimately built on bogland and swamps, or the deep mysticism that's ingrained in it. It kind of feels that way. So it becomes kind of part and parcel of that. And I kind of like this. You know, this is the sort of movie that, had it been set, you know, in the 1600s in Italy, you know, this would totally work well in the end. And, you know, with Vincent Price, this would have worked and no audiences would have rolled their eyes. But because it's set where it is now, in a more modern era, and directed in the way it is, and the reveal at the end, I think a lot of people kind of lose sight of that. There's really not a lot I can say about it. I think the cut is brilliant. I turned off and on the commentary, which I will have a want to do, and it sounded like our buddy Troy was having a ball doing it. The interview I did check out on the disc, and it's really good. Lamberto Bava's a cool dude, man. He's nothing fucking left to prove, and that is a difficult thing. It must be horrible to grow up in the shadow of, you know, a director father who only in time are people kind of really realising how ahead of the curve he was. So any kind of steps you make are ultimately, as time goes on, even further hindered by the greatness that is now realised from audiences in respect to how great your father was. I think that must be quite a horrible thing to grow up with. But in saying that though, what a body of work Lamberto has, and what a body of work Mario has as well. You know, between the two of them, they really carved it out. So yeah, I mean, I would love to. I mean, part of me wants to go out and go full spoiler, but I really do think you should own this. And to be honest, 88 Films only released it within the last year, so there's a chance that you may not have seen it yet. And if you haven't, then you should rectify that. It's bonkers, it's weird, it's over the top. It, at times, like, fucking almost sitcom-y in terms of how dramatic it is. And the ending will either make you roll your eyes or make you kind of go, that's kind of fucking awesome. And I'm in the that's kind of fucking awesome camp. So over the top and so cheesy. I kind of love it for all the things that I think a lot of people dislike it for. In terms of giving Macabre a grade, it's a 4 out of 5. I had a ball coming back to this one. 88 Films have really done the good work. The only other time I'd seen this movie, like I say, was in the Arrow DVD, which wasn't the best print, if I'm honest. And they've cleaned it up quite a bit here. It sounds great, looked great in the big TV, so well done to those guys. I need 4 out of 5 for this movie. I'm going to take my final break. When I come back, I'm closing out the show, and I'm doing it right after this. You're listening to the podcast Under the Stairs. And you've been listening to that podcast Under the Stairs. This has been your Sunday 88 Films Italian Collection series of reviews. Disc number 58 is now in the bag. Macabre, Lamberto Bava from 1980.